Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Andy, and I'm the Faculty of Arts student recruiter here at the University of Alberta. Today, we'll be going over the Faculty of Arts Registration 101 workshop. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge that the University of Alberta respects the sovereignty, lands, histories, languages, knowledge systems, and cultures of First Nations, Métis, and Inuit nations. Without these rich cultures and histories here in Alberta, we would not have the vibrant campus that we are eligible to study on today. For today's schedule, we will be going over the presentation. So we will begin with after you apply. So this is essentially the steps you need to take after you submitted your application and you've been granted admission to the U of A. And then we will be going over understanding your degree as well as your program requirements. We will go over setting up your first year of enrollment, as well as discussing Bear Tracks and My Schedule Builder, which is where you will be registering in your classes. And then we will discuss important dates as well as ways to contact us after this presentation. So for after you apply, you must accept your offer. This will enable you to register in your courses and essentially get full functionality in Bear Tracks. So before you can register in your courses, you must first accept your offer and pay the tuition deposit. If you're a domestic student, Canadian citizen, or permanent resident, your tuition deposit will be $500. If you're an international student, your tuition deposit will be $1,000. It can take up to 3 business days for your payment to process before you have enough functionality in Bear Tracks. So in order to avoid delays, ensure you allow enough time for the payment to process prior to attending a registration workshop or registering in courses. Essentially, if you've submitted an application and you've been granted admission to the U of A, before you can register in your courses, you must accept your offer in Launchpad and then pay the non-refundable tuition deposit. After that, after a few business days, you will gain full functionality in Bear Tracks, which will then enable you to register in your courses. So before we get into actually registering in your courses, we will talk a little bit about understanding your degree, sort of how it can look, as well as what kind of the credit system looks like here at the U of A, as well as the terms. So the credit system, the university has courses that are assigned credit hours. Half year courses are 3 credits or units and run for 1 term. Full year courses are 6 credits or units and run for 2 terms. Basically, the main thing to note here is that one course equates to 3 credits or units. So if you complete a course, you get 3 credits for that course. If you complete 2 courses, you get 6 credits, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Full year courses are not that common, so I would not worry too much about those. However, the main thing to note is just that any course that you complete in like fall and winter, once you complete it, you get credits. They equal to 3 credits. Terms. So the University of Alberta has 4 official terms: fall, winter, spring, and summer. 2 of those, fall and winter, are your main terms. That is because these are the terms in which you can take the max course load of 5 courses, which is the majority of courses that you'll be taking throughout the duration of your degree. So in fall and winter, you are allowed to take a maximum of 5 courses per term, which equals to 15 units or 15 credits. In spring and summer, because they are much more condensed um, courses in the sense that they run for a very short amount of time compared to your fall and winter courses, you are only allowed to do a maximum of 2 courses per spring and summer semester. So don't bank on taking a lot of spring and summer courses throughout your degree. However, they are good options if you decide to reduce your course load in fall and winter and you want to catch up on some courses to stay on track to graduate in 4 years. It is an option to you, but just keep in mind that you cannot take 5 courses. You can only take 2 courses per spring and summer semester. So now we will discuss some common requirements. So in order to graduate with a bachelor's degree from the Faculty of Arts, you need to complete 120 credits with a minimum of 63 credits being from the Faculty of Arts. This makes sense because 63 is just over half. If you had less than half, you would have the majority of your credits being from another faculty, and therefore you would not have a degree from the Faculty of Arts. So you need a minimum of 63 credits to be from the Faculty of Arts within that 120 credits. In addition, you also need to have 3 credits in a junior English or writer studies course. So this is essentially any 100 level English class or any 100 level writer studies course. These are a requirement across the board for most university students, not just Bachelor of Arts students. So these courses tend to be a little difficult to get into in your first year just because many students are trying to enroll in them. However, it is a requirement for you to complete at any point of your degree. So if you cannot get into it in your first year, you can always take it in your second year, but it is a requirement for you for your degree. In addition, if you have not completed a language other than English class in, let's say, high school or at another institution, you will be required to do two courses in the same language that is not English. So, for instance, if you've never done another language class, you could do, let's say, two French classes, and that would satisfy the requirement for the 6 LOE classes. However, these courses must be in the same language. Many students are under the assumption that they can do two different languages. That is incorrect. You would only get credit for one of them, and the other language class would essentially be like an option or an elective. They must be in the same language in order to satisfy this requirement. In addition to that, you also need 6 credits from non-arts classes. So these are any courses that are not offered by the Faculty of Arts, Native Studies, Interdisciplinary Arts, or Augustana Arts courses. So these can be courses that are offered through, let's say, the Faculty of Science or the Faculty of AILS, which is Agriculture and Life Sciences. Essentially, anything that is non-arts, you need a minimum of 2 credits or, sorry, 2 courses or 6 credits from non-arts faculties. So for major and minor requirements, your major is your primary area of study. In a degree program, you need a minimum of 30 credits to a maximum of 48 credits at the senior level. Senior level is 200, 300, or 400 level. 100 level is junior level, so they do not satisfy this 30 to 48 credits. So any course that is 200, 300, or 400 would go towards this. Every degree does require you to declare a major unless you are in a program such as the Bachelor of Design. If you are in the Bachelor of Design, or let's say in the Bachelor of Fine Arts or any of those more particular niche programs, you already essentially have a major declared. It is that specific degree program. But if you are in the Bachelor of Arts Common degree program, you would have to declare a major area of study such as anthropology or sociology, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Minors, however, are optional. So minors can range from anything offered within the Faculty of Arts as well as from other faculties outside of arts. So you can have a minor in science, native studies, business. These are all options available to you if you chose to do a minor. With minors, because they are not your primary area of study, you don't have to take as many courses. So you need a minimum of 20 credits to a maximum of 42 credits at the senior level. Again, senior level is 200 or higher. And for minors from other faculties, follow the requirements from that faculty. So for instance, if you're doing a minor from science, there is a minimum of 24 credits required to complete that minor. All of these major and minor requirements can be found on department websites or the calendar as noted here in the presentation for specific course requirements and etc. Options and electives. So for options and electives, these are essentially courses outside of your common major or minor requirements. So these are kind of your free reign. You can choose whatever you want to take. If there's an area that you are particularly interested in, but maybe it doesn't fit into your common major or minor requirements, but you're still really interested in taking a class in that subject, you have the opportunity to do that. It can work towards an elective. It can still count towards your degree. So it's not a waste of your time, but it allows you the opportunity to kind of explore your options and see other areas that may interest you. Now, in terms of restrictions for that, you can choose any courses outside of the Faculty of Arts, but you may only take a maximum of 18 credits of arts outside of arts or science. So any other courses that you take that are sort of outside of that maximum of 18 credits, let's say you wanted to do many courses in the Faculty of AILS, you are capped at 18 credits. If you do any more than that, those courses would just be considered extra onto your degree and they won't really go towards any requirements or be encompassed within that 120 credits. So that's just something to be made aware of. For junior courses, you may complete up to a maximum of 48 credits at the 100 level, which would be 16 courses. So that means only 16 junior level courses can work towards your kind of like options and electives and so on, as well as they can only 16 courses at the junior level can count towards your degree. So for the duration of your degree, most undergraduate bachelor degrees are designed to be completed in 4 years. However, you may have some flexibility to extend your degree over a longer period of time. Reducing your course load per semester or per year or completing the arts work experience program will extend the length of time you spend completing your degree. Full-time course load can range from 3 to 5 courses per term or 9 to 15 credits, and part-time course load can range from 1 to 2 courses per term or 3 to 6 credits. Essentially, within the Bachelor of Arts, depending on what program you are in, there is some flexibility to extend your degree, complete it in 5 years, 6 years, 4.5, or you could even possibly expedite your degree and complete it in 3.5 if you are very keen. But essentially, the big thing to note here is that there is some flexibility. You are not stuck in terms of having to complete your degree in 4 years. If you do want to extend your degree, there are opportunities to do so. Full-time course load does not necessarily mean the maximum amount of course load. So 5 courses is the maximum amount of courses you can take in a fall and winter semester. However, if you chose to do 3 or 4 courses in one of those semesters, you would still be considered a full-time student. So this is something good to know if you're applying for student loans or scholarships. Many of them require you to be registered as a full-time student. If you are registered as full-time, it does not need to be the maximum of 5 courses. You can be in 3, 4, or 5. Part-time, however, is 1 to 2 courses per term, and that essentially puts you in a separate bracket of study. So you would not be considered a full-time student if you were doing any less than 3 courses, essentially. This is a typical overview of a student that is wanting to complete their degree in 4 years. This is how you would essentially have to set up your 4 year of courses. You would have to do 5 courses in fall and winter. And this does not take into account doing spring and summer. So this is just a very generic, typical overview of what many undergraduate students do to be completed in 4 years. So you would do the maximum amount of courses in your fall and winter. You would have spring and summer off to hopefully like maybe work or go travel or whatever, suits your fancy. But essentially, this is the general gist of most 4 year undergraduate degrees. But again, like I said before, there's lots of flexibility. Your degree does not need to look this way. This is just how they are typically designed. Certificates. So certificates are essentially like an additional perk that we offer here at the U of A. These are the certificates offered through the Faculty of Arts. Other faculties, such as science, business, also have their own certificates that are also open to arts students. However, many of the certificates that are offered through the Faculty of Arts are already embedded into your degree program. So, for instance, I have a certificate in international learning. Part of the international learning certificate requirements is that you need to complete language courses other than English. If you are an art student, you already have to do that as part of your degree requirement. So some of these certificates are already embedded into your programs and are very easy to obtain. And they add a nice little edge onto your degree at when you graduate. You get your own parchment, and it is an officiated degree add-on. So highly recommend and encourage students to look at these and see if there's anything that interests you, as they are very valuable post-graduation to kind of have in terms of the job market, applying for positions. It just gives you that little bit of an extra edge, and it also opens you up to other opportunities here at the University of Alberta. So highly encourage you to go to the website indicated here and look at all the certificates that are offered. So understanding your program requirements. So previously we discussed kind of general requirements that are mandatory for all art students, but now we're going to kind of go into like more specifics here. All of your program requirements can be found on the website indicated here at uab.ca/calendar. If you go to that website, you will be taken to essentially this page. So this is the University of Alberta academic calendar. This is where you will be able to find all of your program requirements, regardless of which program you are in at the University of Alberta. So one thing to note is that if you see here, it says University of Alberta calendar 2024 to 2025. This is the calendar for first year students going into the fall 2024 term that they should be referencing. However, in the next year for fall 2025 and winter 2026, you'll be wanting to ensure that you are using that calendar. So this calendar gets updated every single year. It is one of the most up-to-date websites here at the University of Alberta. So just make sure you're always on the most current date, as that will always have the most up-to-date information for you to kind of follow and use as a reference point when planning out your degree and trying to figure out your program requirements. However, if you look at the circled part here, I have undergraduate admissions as well as undergraduate programs. We are going to be clicking on the undergraduate programs for the next slide. If you click on that, it'll take you to this page that lists all of the colleges as well as the faculties within those colleges. So we are Faculty of Arts, so we will be clicking on the Faculty of Arts as circled here. Once you click on the Faculty of Arts, you can then get a list of all the programs that are offered here. So it lists all of our undergraduate programs, Bachelor of Arts Honors, Arts in Criminology, etc. We have our combined degrees, as well as it lists all the certificates. So essentially, if you're interested in any of these programs, or if you are in any of these programs and you want to find out information on them, this is where you should be going, and you will simply click the link and it'll give you all the information you need about it. So this goes for our programs as well as our certificates. So for this presentation, I'm clicking on just the general Bachelor of Arts undergraduate program. And if you click on that, and if you scroll down and you want to find your major requirements, it lists all the majors that are offered through the Bachelor of Arts. Here, you can then just simply click on your major and it will tell you all of the requirements necessary to complete that major component of your degree. So for this presentation, I chose to click on psychology. If you click on that, you get this general information blurb here, as well as you get the requirements for the major. So it'll list the courses that you need to take. It'll give you options that you can choose from. It'll give you every bit of information you need in order to understand what courses you need for your degree, as well as the options you have in terms of going about to complete that degree. One thing to note here is that if you look at this and you see as part of your major requirements, it's got 6 units from or 3 units from. What that means is, so as we discussed before, units and credits are synonymous. So when it says 6 units from, it does not mean 6 classes from. So you don't need to choose 6 classes. You need to choose 6 credits, aka 2 courses. So if you see here, 6 units from Psych 223, Psych 239, as well as Psych 241, you would have to choose 2 courses from that list, which would equate to 6 units or 6 credits. So you have some option in terms of the courses that you choose from in this situation. If you don't see this like 6 units from, so if we refer to the top courses here, you need to take Psych 104, Psych 105, Psych 212. These are courses that must be completed. You don't have a choice whether or not to complete them. They are requirements for the major. You have to take those courses. However, if you refer to Psych 213 or Stats 151, if there is an or after one of your courses, that means you can choose this course or the one following it. You do not need to complete both. You have a choice of which one you would like to complete. Either one will satisfy the requirements for the major. So in essence, that is how you would read through these program requirements that are listed on the academic calendar. It is very comprehensive, and as I said, it is always the most up-to-date information. So please reference this. I suggest bookmarking this website for you to reference throughout your degree to ensure that you are on track and taking the correct courses for your degree. Another thing to note here is to pay attention to prerequisites. So when you click on courses on the academic calendar, as well as when you go and pick them on My Schedule Builder, but we will discuss that a little bit later. But one thing to note is that your prerequisites will be listed on the academic calendar. And these are very important. So what a prerequisite is a class that needs to be completed before you take the next class. So for this example, I chose Psych 239, Abnormal Psychology. I have the description circled here because within that description, if you read it, it says prerequisite Psych 105. What this means is that you need to have taken Psych 105 before you can register in this course. So if you are doing your planning for your fall and winter for this upcoming year, you should have Psych 105 in your fall semester so that you can take Psych 239 in the winter. This is just an example. Of course, you do not need to exactly adhere to this, but this is just what a prerequisite means and for your own information. If a course has a prerequisite, that course needs to be completed or at least enrolled in the semester before the course you're trying to take in order to essentially register and take that class. So that is one thing to note when registering for your courses. Please pay attention to the prerequisites. In addition, please pay attention to course restrictions. So this is another very important thing to note. Many students get kind of stuck on this because a lot of arts courses, even though all of us are Faculty of Arts students, many arts courses are still restricted to people in very specific programs. So for this choice, I chose Art 136, which is a Bachelor of Art and Design course. If you read the course description here, it says that it is restricted to BFA and BDes students. What that means is if you are a student, even though you're in arts, if you are not in the Bachelor of Fine Arts program or the Bachelor of Design program, you cannot take this course. So this applies to many other courses outside of Bachelor of Art and Design, courses that are in business, some courses that are in science, some courses that are in kinesiology, engineering, etc. All these courses will have restrictions, and they are essentially ensuring that students that are in these programs have the opportunity to enroll in them, and that students that don't need to take these courses are not given priority of registration. So please pay attention to these course restrictions. It also gives you the restrictions on My Schedule Builder, which is the website that we will discuss in a few moments. And it'll tell you if this course has a restriction on it. If you do not meet those restrictions, then you must choose a different course to enroll in. So U of A course catalog. So many students are often curious as to where they can go and find a list of all the courses that we offer here at the University of Alberta. I have the website included here. If you go to this website, it should essentially take you to a page that looks just like this. This is the University of Alberta course catalog. It is from here that you can find a list of all the courses that we have to offer. You can search up keywords, subjects, catalog number, instructor name, etc. I often just refer to the faculty listing. So essentially you would just click on a faculty. We are in the Faculty of Arts. You can click on the Faculty of Arts, and then it'll give you a list of all the departments that offer courses here at the U of A. So it'll give you anthropology, sociology, women and gender studies, history, classics, etc., etc. And then you would just click on one of those departments and it'll show you all the courses that are offered through that department, as well as it'll give you the available classes for the upcoming terms that are essentially being offered. So highly invaluable piece of information here. Many students always want to know where they can find a list of all the classes that they can take. This is your best resource to find those classes. So I highly encourage you to check out this website if you are wondering what courses to take. Okay, so we have discussed a lot of the basics here. So now we're going to look into setting up your first year of enrollment. So here I have a very typical structure for a first year student in the Faculty of Arts. Again, there's a lot of flexibility and there's a lot of variability in terms of how you set up your first year. So do not copy and paste this. This does not need to apply to you. This is just an example of a very typical first year of enrollment, but nonetheless, it's good to kind of reference as it does apply to many of you in your first year. So in fall, I have English 100, a 100 level class in your major, a 100 level class in your minor, should you choose to declare a minor. I have a language other than English, if that applies to you, and then an optional elective. And then for winter, I have essentially the exact same thing, except I have major requirement or option or elective. So this, again, is just a very generalized way of structuring your first year. It can look very different depending on which program you're in or how you choose to go about completing your degree. But nonetheless, this is a good reference point for you if you are absolutely stuck and have no idea where to begin. This is essentially the exact same schedule, but instead of doing 5 classes, this student chooses to do 4. So for many of you, some of you, you may not be interested in getting the ball rolling and starting off in 5 courses right away. Maybe you want to build up some confidence, see what university courses are like before you start doing like 5 courses per semester. That is absolutely acceptable and totally okay. So this could be your possible first year of enrollment instead. If you do 4 courses, like I said before, you are still considered a full-time student. You still have the opportunity to graduate within 4 years if you maybe choose to do some spring and summer courses throughout your degree. So this is absolutely still an acceptable first year of enrollment structure. And then again, just another example here, but in this case, the student chose to do only 3 classes in fall. So maybe in fall, you want to do a part-time job where you work evenings or something. So you only want to do 3 courses, build up that confidence again. And then, in winter semester, you decide that, okay, I'm ready to take on more course load. So you decide to enroll in 4. Absolutely acceptable. Again, you are still considered a full-time student for both of these semesters, even though you're not doing the maximum amount of courses. So again, if you are registered as a full-time student, this is still a more than acceptable way to structure your timetable. So in sum, make a schedule that works for you. As I've said many times, there's a lot of flexibility in terms of how you set up your schedule. So just please be honest with yourself in terms of what works for you. If you don't feel like you're ready to do 5 courses, do not feel the pressure to do 5 courses. Again, some programs may require you to do 5 courses, but if you are in just the general BA program, you do not need to do 5 courses right away. So just make a schedule that works for you. Timetabling tips. So these are tips to kind of use when like building your schedule. So we already talked about prerequisites. If you have a class that has a prerequisite, make sure you're enrolling in that prerequisite class in the semester before. So if you are doing, let's say, an upper level psychology class, as we saw before, you are going to want to have Psych 104 or Psych 105 in your fall semester. Which classes have the fewest offerings? So if you are really interested in a class, but it's only offered at one time in one semester, I would prioritize that class and build your schedule around it. I wouldn't bank on being able to take it in another year because sometimes courses aren't offered every single year. Most of your first year classes will be, so I wouldn't really worry about this too much in your first year, but especially as you go on into your third and fourth year, many of the classes that are offered become um, less abundant in terms of the amount of times they're offered throughout a year. So if you do come across a situation where you see a class and it's not offered that often, I would prioritize enrolling in that and build your schedule around it accordingly. Another thing to note is, are earlier or later classes better for you? So this is me just kind of saying to you, be realistic with yourself. Are you an early morning person? If you are, great, then maybe 8 a.m. classes for you. But if you are not an early morning person, do not try and kid yourself into believing that you are going to be able to get up at 8 a.m. or 7 a.m. or whatever to attend early classes. Build a schedule that works for you. There is opportunity to take evening classes, to take classes later in the afternoon. There's lots of flexibility here at the University of Alberta. So I encourage you, make a schedule that works for you in terms of time, and try not to like force yourself to be someone that you are not, because you will just struggle. And it usually sets students up for a little bit of an unsuccessful time in their coursework. So please be honest with yourself and set a schedule that works for you. And then lastly, which building are classes in? So this is important to note because the University of Alberta North Campus is huge. So if you are planning out your classes and they are back to back, this only really applies to classes that are right after each other. So if you have like a break in between your classes, you don't really need to worry about which buildings they're in. But if they are back to back, I would try and see where the locations of these classes are in conjunction with one another, as well as to see how long it will take to get to and from those buildings. If you are all the way in CSIS, which is about as far north on North Campus as you can get, and then your next class, that is right after, is in ECA, which is pretty far south on campus, I would maybe try and see if you could take some other classes or try and like find different times to give you more time to get to and from those buildings, as it can be a bit of a trek to get to and from in the 10 minutes that is allocated there. So again, it's not super important, but it is just something to note, especially if your classes are back to back. So this is a good example of a prerequisite here that I just included. And the reason I include Econ 101 is because many of you are probably econ majors or minors, or maybe you want to go into business. Either way, Econ 101 and 102. Econ 101, even though Econ 102 is also a 100 junior level class, 101 is a prerequisite to 102. So if you are looking to take Econ 101 and 102 in your first year, please ensure that you are enrolling in Econ 101 in your fall term so that you can progress onto Econ 102 in your winter term. Econ 101, like I said, is a prerequisite. It must be completed before 102. So that is just a little tip and trick and a good example of a prerequisite for first year students. So your English and writer studies classes. So almost every university student at the University of Alberta is required to take either junior level English or writing studies. So these classes tend to fill up very quickly. So if you are one of those students who is having a tough time trying to find an English class or a writer's studies class, don't panic. You have an opportunity to take these classes in your second year if they are all full in your first year. But one thing to note is that English 102, English 103, as well as English 125, these can all satisfy the 3 credits in 100 level English. And then Writer Studies 101, Writer Studies 102, or Writer Studies 104 can satisfy the 3 credits in a 100 level Writing Studies class. So any of these 6 classes can satisfy the 3 credits required for the common requirements of the 3 junior level English or Writer Studies. So you have 6 courses to choose from essentially. So maybe you aren't able to get into English 102 or 103, but maybe you can get into one of the other ones. I implore you to explore all these courses and just trying to get them out of the way in your first year. Again, though, if you cannot enroll in any of them, do not panic. There is an opportunity to take them in your second year. But it is just something to note that if a spot is available, I would prioritize enrolling in that just to get it out of the way, because these are courses that are harder to get into. And another thing to note here is that English 150 and Writers 100 cannot be taken, as they will not meet this requirement. That is because these are courses made specifically for other students in other programs, and they are essentially structured differently than the other English and Writer Studies courses that can be taken. So do not enroll in English 150 or Writers 100. I mean, you can take them, but they will not satisfy the requirement needed for the 3 credits in a English or Writer Studies class. So that is just something to be made very aware of. So now we've discussed a lot of like program requirements, setting up your first year of enrollment and everything. And now we're going to go into discussing BearTracks, which is the tool you will actually be using to build your schedule. So BearTracks is essentially where you will be going to manage your classes. It is where you can do class search and enroll, browse the course catalog, shopping cart. It's where you will find your enrollment dates. It's where the watch list will be listed, drop classes, swap classes, etc. Anything pertaining to dealing with classes will be done through your BearTracks. It is also where your financial account is, where your student profile, academic records, etc., etc. It is all through BearTracks. Mine looks a little different because I'm an employee at the U of A, so I have this little employee tab. Do not worry about that. Everything else should look the same for you. For this presentation, though, we are primarily concerned with the My Schedule Builder tile. So it is this little calendar with the little clock on it. If you click on that, this is where you will be building your schedule for enrollment. So My Schedule Builder is a tool that is available in BearTracks to assist you with fall at 2024 and winter 2025 schedule building and registration. This is a brand new function that was just debuted this year. So you guys are the first to try this out essentially. So if there's some kinks in it, don't panic. It's not you. It's just that this is a brand new tool that we have integrated into BearTracks. So it's just taking some time to flesh through all of the little minute issues that are wrong with it. But either way, this is where you will be going to build your first year schedule, and it should look like this before you have selected anything. So if you go to the top right corner, you'll see winter 2025. If you click on that date, it'll give you a list of all the semesters that you can build your schedules for. So you want to be building for fall 2024 as well as winter 2025. And then this video will give you an in-depth exploration as to the functions of my schedule builder, as well as how to add classes, enroll in them, put them on watch lists, etc. For this presentation, I am not going to play this video because it is essentially playing a video within a video and the audio quality will not be good. So I implore you to go watch this video at uab.ca/reg101. If you go to the self-guided modules that are in the faculty tip sheets at the bottom of the page, if you go to the Faculty of Arts self-guided module, you will be able to watch this video there. You can also go to uab.ca/reg. It will also take you to this video and you can watch it there. I implore you to pause this video and to go watch this on your own time and then come back to this video and then continue on with the rest of the presentation. My name is Everett. Okay, so assuming that you paused and you went to go watch that video on your own time, fabulous. You should have a general understanding of how my schedule builder works now. Essentially, after watching that video, you should be able to understand how I got to this draft schedule. So this is essentially what your schedule can look like in my schedule builder. This is a typical first year schedule for a Bachelor of Arts student. So for this student, I chose to enroll in Bio 107 to get one of those 6 credits in non-arts. I also chose to enroll in French 111, English 102, Psych 104, and Stats 151. One thing to note here is that English 102 and Stats 151 are online classes, and therefore they are not going to show up on your schedule. So anytime you are enrolling in an online course, they will not show up on your schedule. That being said, though, some online courses will still have scheduled class Zoom times that you will have to attend. So even though they don't show up on your schedule, there may still be dedicated times to meet with your professor, with your classmates, etc. So you may just have to wait and see what the syllabus says in terms of the class structure. So that is just one thing to note. This is the exact same courses that I chose in the previous schedule, but this is just another way to configure them. So for this schedule, I chose to have Mondays and Thursdays off, as well as Tuesdays, I only have my lab. So again, this is just speaking to the fact that there's a lot of flexibility and variety in terms of how you set up your schedule. So please pick one that works for you. This way you can work if you have a part-time job on Mondays and Thursdays or whatever. Either way, just please pick a schedule that works for you. Okay, so for registration help after today, you can always go to uab.ca/reg101, which is where you will find this video presentation. And then if you go down and scroll to the faculty tip sheets and self-guided modules, if you go to arts, the arts self-guided modules will go over much of the information that has been discussed in this presentation, as well as here are some contacts for you to reach out to. So the arts undergrad at ualberta.ca, that is the Faculty of Arts undergraduate office, as well as the arts website, which will take you to essentially the Faculty of Arts website where you can find all the contacts for different departments and essentially just scour the website to see if you can find the person that you're trying to look for. So for important dates, so April 4th is when you can register in your courses. For many of you, if you're watching this video, this does not apply to you because this video will have been posted after that date. April 30th, this date is also passed, but if you had applied for residence before that date, you would have a guaranteed spot. If you still want to apply for residence, you absolutely can at uab.ca/residence. It is just now first come, first serve. So if you are still interested in residence, I would get on that as soon as possible. August 1st is the outstanding document deadline for high school applicants. So if you are coming out of high school, August 1st is the deadline to get in your official transcripts and coursework grades. If you are a transfer student, June 15th is the official outstanding document deadline. So that is just something to be made aware of if you are transferring from another institution or you are a U of A student transferring into the Faculty of Arts from a different program. June 15th is the deadline to get in your official grades and documents. And then August 31st to September 2nd is orientation for the University of Alberta. And then September 3rd is when fall term classes begin. And at that point, you are off to the races, and hopefully you all are well aware of what you're doing at that point. If after this video you still have questions and you would still like to contact us, you are more than welcome to book a virtual advising session with one of our faculty representatives. My name is Andy. I'm the Faculty of Arts student recruiter. So if you want to book a virtual advising appointment with me, you are more than welcome to do so at uab.ca/advising. Again, uab.ca/reg101. That'll give you a lot of registration assistance. I highly encourage you to check out that website. It is the website where this video was posted. And then if you would like to email me or email anyone within the Faculty of Arts, I encourage you to reach out to arts.recruiting@ualberta.ca. If you have any questions further about registering for classes or anything like that, email them and they will be able to get back to you relatively quickly with a response. And if they can't, they will point you in the direction to ensure that you get the most adequate help. And that essentially concludes this presentation. So hopefully you all are well aware of how to register in classes, find the academic calendar, figure out your program requirements, use my schedule builder, everything. Hopefully you feel a little more prepared and confident and ready to essentially tackle your first year here at the University of Alberta. With that all being said, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and we hope to see you all in September. Bye.